Hello, RWorld. Welcome back to another episode of RWorldTalk. My name is David Searle, and this week I'm excited to be your host. We have a very special guest today. We have none other than NAR President Kevin Sears. Welcome.
David, thank you for the opportunity to be with you today.
Well, there's nothing going on in the real estate industry, so I'm not really sure why you're here.
No, have you heard something? What do I need to know about?
Well, listen, you become National Association of Realtors President a little premature this year, and you came in and really hit the ground running, with an intentional pursuit of, real change, and we, can't be thankful enough for you to continue doing great things at NAR. Describe your experience so far.
Well, I did hit the ground running. In fact, my very first official duty as president of the National Association of Realtors was to be at your installation here in West Palm. But no, we have been very intentional with what we've done over the first 5.5, 6 months of the year. Certainly was not expected becoming president 10 months, 11 months early. But, one of the things I can tell you is my background in athletics was a great training ground for leadership. And when somebody goes down on the field, it's got to be the next man, next person up, right? Because there's always work to be done. And so the way I see it, being a Patriots season ticket holder and really enjoying the dynasty that we had, I think about something that Coach Bill Belichick said, and it's do your job. And so that was my mindset, my mentality going into this. But what I'll tell you is we've had a very strange 12 months, right, with exposés in the New York Times, threats of lawsuits, first resignation, then a verdict comes out of Eighth Circuit Court in Missouri against the National Association of Realtors and a couple of other of the defendants, corporate defendants, and then the second resignation, and I become president. And one of the things that I did was very intentional, and that was to bolster the communications efforts with our members and with the consumers. And, it started by within the first week doing a video to address the members who are saying, what is going on? And I received some critical feedback on the video. I did it in a studio. I did have a teleprompter. The words, I would like to say they were all mine, but my words had to get changed around, and legal was involved, and so were some others. But the critical feedback I got was that I was elected for a reason, and the members are used to a certain communication style that I have. And I need to rely on that. And out of that critical feedback, the On the Road video series was born and created. And the NAR staff has been fantastic in helping me to deliver the message to the members. And what I'll tell you is there's no green screens, there's no teleprompters. In fact, NAR doesn't know what I'm going to say until I say it. And typically I'm able to do it in one take. Every now and then, got to do something over, but I was very deliberate in telling staff, I'm going to say or ah. I might stumble on a word, but that is the real way that we communicate, right? And so I said, I want to the best of our ability, keep those in so that, the members are hearing me say the message in my words to them. And I think that, it was on the heels of last fall where there was a real communication void, there's a vacuum. And we missed the opportunity, the National Association of Realtors did miss the opportunity to be able to do a better job communicating with the members and the public. Well, what I can tell you is at the most senior level at the National Association of Realtors, we were without a senior vice president of communications from March until December. And so the communication department was, we're here in Florida. What is it? A listless or without a rudder? I don't know what's the terminology we can use down here on with the watercraft.
Sure.
But Suzanne Bohia came in December, and she's been a great partner for me in ramping up the communication efforts that we've had. And there's other stuff that we can touch on, but I'm sure you've got more questions than I'll work.
And it's funny because until you get into your leadership journey, you don't truly understand right leader at right time, right? And certainly the feedback around the country is you're authentic, you're genuine, and you're bringing that to NAR. And, we jumped right into, some of the challenges and obstacles that you've had during this brief residency so far, but continued path, right? What has been your biggest challenge, and how are you overcoming it?
Yeah, my biggest challenge is I'm not a morning person. And from January 8th on through the settlement on March 15th, I found myself getting up earlier and earlier every day because we had Zooms every day in the morning, first thing in the morning, with the entire leadership team, our legal counsel, as we were navigating through the negotiations on the settlement, as well as the transition in the presidency and everything. But so that's half serious, half kidding. Really, the biggest challenge has been, given everything that transpired the middle part and end of last year, is being able to articulate and communicate with both staff and the members. Because one of the things that was very obvious, given the challenges from last fall, was the breakdown in communication with staff, the cultural issues that became very evident. And so, working with our interim CEO, Nakia Wright, with the Culture Transformation Commission, with the leadership team that is unified and we're really all rowing in the same direction right now, because we recognize we need to be the example as volunteer leaders and members for both staff and our membership. And so that's really just been a constant challenge, is making sure that we continue to move the organization, the association in the right direction. And one of the things I'll say about the leadership team, and so thrilled with the team that we have now, and the fact that a couple of our NAR past presidents from yesteryear said yes, Sharon Millett from Maine and Vince Malta, is that we've had some very difficult decisions to make for the association. But anytime there's a difficult decision, one of us will ask the question, if it's not me, it would be one of them, is this the best thing for the members? And at the end of the day, that's our North Star. That is how we are making the decision, saying, is this the best thing? And there are some people that question doing a settlement, is that the best thing for the members? And for me, the answer is yes, because that allows us to put this big issue, the sell side commission lawsuit, behind us, put in our rearview mirror. Things are going to change. I'm sure you're going to be asking me some questions about it, but we can at least have it in our rearview mirror, and we can say, okay, we're going to drive towards what the new normal is going to be.
And it's a real good segue into, why did NAR settle? Because if you look at rumblings on social media, which is running rampant or whatnot, and they don't understand, right? They're not in the rooms. They're not making the decisions. They're not hearing and seeing what NAR is being doing and what local and state associations have been doing. This didn't just happen overnight. This is 2019, when we started this. We started talking about what ifs and how we're going to do things, and working with the DOJ and everyone involved. So I guess the question to you is, why did NAR settle to the member who really isn't involved as much as they should be?
Yeah, so I touched on it a little bit in the last answer, but why did we sell? Well, let's think about what our options were, right? And the options were fight it and appeal, or settle, right? Or be exposed and have a $5.4 billion liability, which part of it would be fighting that. So the first thing I should let your listeners know, or viewers know, is that we had settlement talks before the trial, we had settlement talks during the trial, and obviously we had settlement talks after the trial. So settlement has always been an option, and anytime you're in litigation, and I'm sure some of the folks out there that are tuning in have been in litigation, they know. Even when you're having settlement talks, you're going to be standing out there and you're going to be saying, we're going to fight this. We are on the side of right. We are not doing anything wrong. And that is the position we're going to take, because if you don't settle before, you're going to trial. And that's going to be the same position and posture you have in court. One of the things about the settlement is we did not admit any wrongdoing, right? We believe that we had the best system, the envy of the world, the most transparent system, but ultimately with the $1.78 billion verdict against us, judgment against us, trebled because it was an antitrust case in federal court up to $5.4 billion. We had to look at it and say, we can settle or we can fight. Now, let me talk about the fight, the appeal. We actually think that we would have had a pretty good grounds for appeal and to win on appeal. The biggest issue or problem would be we would have to post a bond of up to $5.4 billion in order to make the appeal. First of all, we don't have $1.78 billion, let alone $5.4 billion. So without the bond being posted, we can't appeal unless we chose to do Chapter 11 bankruptcy. So if we did Chapter 11 bankruptcy, let me go back. We felt we had a good chance to win on appeal. But if we did win, we would have been remanded back to the lower court for another jury trial. It wouldn't have just undone everything and it goes away, right? So that's part of it. So during the appeal period, all of the other copycat lawsuits would have slowly been making their way through the court systems in the 24 other courts that have that had copycat suits filed in. And so the associations, the MLSs, the brokerages, the teams, and even some individual members that have been sued in those copycat cases would have had to continue to pay attorneys to defend themselves as they progress through the courts. Now, if NAR decided to file Chapter 11 bankruptcy, we could have stayed ourselves from all of the other copycat suits that we were named in, protecting just the association, just the National Association of Realtors, the corporate entity. That is it. We could have gone on to the appeals and done all that, but stayed from all the other ones. But the liability for all of the other named parties in the suits would have continued on. And so looking at that, if we filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy and we would have to go through some restructuring and there would have been, all different sorts of things that would have had to happen, we could have seen other associations, MLSs, members, brokerages also declaring bankruptcy as they were going through their process. And then just the final thing, the bankruptcy is there for a reason, especially to restructure things. But what I can tell you is that the damage that would have been done, and not the financial component, but even worse to the brand, we really think that there could have been some pretty negative ramifications for us in our advocacy efforts all across the country. And so we needed to make sure that we preserved as much of what we have built over the last 16 years to be able to continue and do provide the services that we have that the members have come to expect.
Love it. And you talked about your North Star briefly, right? Mm-hmm. And was this good for the members, right? You clearly stated it was good for the members, even if it wasn't good for NAR, right? Like, even if you could, and I'm not saying it was or wasn't, but protecting, the members was your first thought.
Yeah, there's some other pieces to the settlement I didn't talk about.
No, I know.
And there was the financial component, right? Sure. So the $5.4 billion judgment, we were able to come to terms at $418 million.
Sure.
That's a lot of money for sure. And the promise that we made when we announced the settlement, and I've said since then, for 2024, that's this year, we're not raising dues. For 2025, we're not raising dues. We are going to rely on money that we have in reserves. We're going to talk to, or we're looking at our not auxiliary companies, but subsidiaries, ancillary subsidiaries. Where can we get the money that's needed to make the payments? And there's a couple of important dates. August 17th for the rule changes, and we could talk about those. The end of November is scheduled the final hearing. I think November 26th for final approval. And if the judge grants final approval on November 26th, within 90 days, we'll have to pay $202 million. And then on that anniversary of that payment for the following 3 years, we'll have to pay $72 million. So there's a lot that still needs to be done. We've got several meetings lined up for in-depth financial analysis, because we need to make sure we can fulfill our financial obligation as a party to the settlement, to make sure that we live up to our end of the deal. So there's a lot to do there. The implementation of the rule changes, that's coming as well. Here in Florida, there's two main rule changes. The first is that we'll be prohibiting the offers of cooperating compensation on the multiple listing service. It's a huge one, right? And so for the listeners, they're not going to see me do it, but I'll describe what I'm doing. I'm holding up my phone to the camera. So we're going to have to do a little more work now, David, going forward, to see if there's going to be an offer of compensation on a listing that one of our buyers is interested in viewing. Where can the offer of compensation be posted? Well, listing brokers on their own website can say whether or not they're offering cooperating compensation, so we can put it right on there. If you have an email list and you usually email your listings off, you can communicate that via email, via text. You can pick up the phone, you can call, and you can find out. As a broker, I would say make sure you get to my agents, make sure you get it in writing, because at the end of the day, we're always thinking about arbitration. We want to make sure we get paid. But the unilateral offer of cooperating compensation on the MLS is going away. Part of the settlement, we did expressly put in there that sellers can still offer concessions to buyers through the MLS. Say if there's roof damage, the roof needs to be repaired or replaced. If there's a septic issue or a well issue, there can be concessions that are listed on there. If the seller is willing to help with closing costs, that can be a concession that is allowable. The caution that I will give to the viewers and listeners is, do not use that concession field to try and game the system and make a concession which is commensurate with what a buyer, broker, buyer's agent would expect to get paid. You will just be you'll be opening yourself up to liability. So just do not do that. Make sure the concession is very specific for what it's going to be for, and stick to that. The other big rule change has to do with any subscribers to the MLS, before they show a listing to a prospective buyer, will have to have a written agreement with the buyer, detailing what the services will be provided and what the fee is that they're looking to get paid. We were very specific in the wording we used in the settlement about a written agreement, because we know that some states are transactional brokers. In fact, I'm sitting in one right now.
Yes, you are.
Yeah, and so the first thing I'll say about these rules is we do not want anybody to violate Florida state law, license law, statute, anything like that. Uphold the law. Do everything according to the letter of the law. But ultimately, at the end of the day, if there's going to be compensation that you're expecting to get paid, whether it's from the seller or the buyer, we need to have a written agreement.
Absolutely. So many people are, up in arms, and they look at, this isn't right, or this isn't fair, or whatever. And, stop. Just stop. Do not circumvent the rule. Embrace and lean in. And those that embrace and lean into these rule changes are making it more transparent for the consumer, protecting the consumer, and you're going to make a lot more money and be more productive over the years by embracing and leaning into this.
Well, and so what I will say about that, two things. One, I've got a sports analogy, but the other it's this is a great opportunity for us to have additional conversations with the consumer, describing the value and expertise we bring to a transaction. Oh, and this is what I'm looking to get paid, right? Well, if there's one thing I know about realtors, they adapt and they're resilient. And those that can adapt
very
sooner,
resourceful.
yeah, are going to be they're going to be able to be very, very successful. But the more information the consumer has, the better off we will be. With regards to you didn't use the word complainers. Anyways, with regards to the critics and all this stuff, and they say, why do we do it? Whatever. Going back to sports, all I can say is scoreboard.
Yeah.
The plaintiffs, they have the scoreboard. They won.
Right.
Right. And We might have been the better team. I think back to the undefeated Patriots in 2007. They might have been the best team that year, but in the biggest game of the year, scoreboard, they didn't win.
And a lot of people are rooting against the Patriots.
That's right. Yeah, I know. At this point, after a few years, I think we might be getting a little love from
Karma.
Yeah.
No, listen, there's a lot of misinformation out there. And, I think, to your point, NAR's done an amazing job with communication. Facts.Realtor with your FAQs on the settlement and such has been amazing. How often is that updated, and should members be going there to get some of their information?
Yeah, members and consumers can go to Facts.Realtor to get information. It is not behind password protected, firewall. So you can get in there. It had been updated multiple times a day. Now it might be only updated every day or every other day as new info comes in, or as we have new answers for the frequently asked questions or new questions come in. But it's constantly being updated, and it is a great resource for folks. With regards to communications, one of the other things that I'll tell you, we're getting better. I appreciate you saying we're doing a great job. We're getting better, but it was very disappointing on March 15th when the very first article that came out had so much misinformation, inaccuracies, half-truths, and just they were playing wrong on a bunch of things. And being one of the biggest publications in the country, others kind of ran with the story. And the problem with the headlines that we saw there, and it got members so worked up, and the leadership team, we were so upset by the misinformation. We said, okay, we have to do something. And I've said this for months. I said it even before the settlement because of what some of the national media was doing is I don't pay as much attention to the national media. That's not as important to me as what the local media says, right? Sure. Local media, they know that realtors are a fabric of the community, right? That go to a PTO meeting or go to a Little League field, you're going to see realtors on the sideline volunteering at a soup kitchen or a Habitat for Humanity build. We are the ones who are the front lines in volunteering when it comes to community efforts. We know the communities, we live here. These are our neighbors. We're going to do everything we can to help. And so what we need is members that have media contacts with local media. Get your story told. And NAR has tools and resources for the members. They'll do training if they need it. They'll help them with op-eds. If you're interested in being a media surrogate for the National Association of Realtors, and we have over 500 so far across the country, please email surrogates@nar.realtor. surrogates@nar.realtor. And just say that you're willing to help out and volunteer, because we'll give you the tools to be able to help tell your story, tell the story of your clients about how what we do on a daily basis is good, just, and right for the community. I've never heard anybody say when they grow up they want to rent a 450 square foot flat, right? It's the American dream. It's that little house with the white picket fence. And what we are doing is we are helping to change the lives of so many people by giving them their piece of the American dream.
Yeah, building relationships, creating influences, and, really being, I always say that as a realtor, you don't start and finish at a contract or a closing or a transaction, right? It just continues to go on. They ask you about a homestead. They ask you about the pool guy, the lawn guy, all these different things, and you become their advisor and you become part of their family. Their information gatherer, you're the first person they go to. So, realtors do give significant value. Let's talk about a little bit of the leadership journey. Okay. Why should members get involved with their either local, state, or national real estate association?
I appreciate the fact that you use the word journey because I'm still on my leadership journey. If I ever reach the destination, then that means I'm going to be done. And let's just start at the local level, right? When I first passed my licensing exam, my broker told me, grab your checkbook, go to the local association, fill out the application, pay your dues, and join 3 committees. Okay. Well, that broker happened to be my father. All right. And he had been,
And you had to listen.
yeah, and he had been president of the local association, 10 years before that. So he understood the value of being involved. But what he knew and he was trying to instill upon me was the first thing it did was it built relationships for me with my competitors. I talk about being in the soup kitchen. I remember in the mid 90s being down at the soup kitchen, elbow to elbow with other realtors, feeding the poorest of the poor in my community. And then when I had a transaction with that person that I was elbow to elbow with, oh my goodness, all of a sudden, the professional relationship, it was just so much better. But so at the local level, the other thing is when you're in the room as policies are being made, decisions are being made, direction is being developed for the association, you receive more information than just the average member. And you can use that to your advantage when you are meeting with a buyer or a seller to try and become their realtor. One of the things I talk about, and I'm not wearing my RPAC,
but I know it's crazy. Me neither. Yeah. It's like probably the first time. Very proud of it.
When I go on a listing appointment, I would, go through the presentation. I say, hey, I'm sure you're interviewing other realtors, other brokers. When they come in, make sure they have one of these pens on. And what that will show you is they care enough about you and your ability to be able to freely buy, sell, lease, and transfer real property that they're putting their money where their mouth is, and they want to fight for you. And if they don't have that pen, ask them why not. So that's at the local level. At the state level, it's as you move up at the state level, you build more contacts. It's a great opportunity for referrals. I didn't do it for referrals, but it's a great opportunity for referrals. But just the information alone, it puts you up in the top 10% of the top 1%. I mean, you are just right up at the top of your game with the information that is available. And if you actually participate in the meetings that you're volunteering for, then you can have a significant influence in the direction the association goes. The passion for me was advocacy and being in the room when the decisions are made and supporting elected officials or candidates who have been very supportive of us. We know we are impacting our industry based on the relationships that have been developed and built and then solidified through the grassroots advocacy that the Realtor Party does. And then at the National Association of Realtors, it's just the local and state on steroids. It is. And I've been very blessed. I've been volunteering at the National Association of Realtors since 1998, first as a federal political coordinator, and then in 2003 was my first committee assignment. And so I've served on all different sorts of committees, chaired a handful of them, been presidential liaison and a vice president, and just had a great experience. But so what I'll just say to the group about at the national level. So I've got 3 kids, and I know that if my kids were traveling anywhere in the country, maybe even some places in the world, if they had a flat tire or something happened, I know that there's a realtor I could call, pick up the phone, call them, and they would be there immediately to help my kids.
Wow. Yeah.
Right.
I mean, the relationships that we forged throughout our journey, is amazing. My passion in leadership was always, advocacy, but more of the government affairs and the influential, like you said, FPC or key contact, those kind of things. But then also the MLS. The MLS is my big passion. I love the MLS. I love data. I love how it aggregates and how it works. Let's talk just briefly about the value of the MLS, because that's also being talked about. It's been somewhat under attack to a certain degree now that they can't display offers of compensation. What is the value of the MLS?
Yeah. So like I said very early on, our system is the envy of the world. The fact that we have such a powerful vehicle of information available at our fingertips, it's mind-boggling when you think about it. And if you travel the world and you look at the other systems. But what I'll tell you the value of the MLS is that it's the free exchange of information that we as professionals need to be able to do our job better and serve our clients better. thinking about what the MLS will look like in 3, 5, or 7 years, I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball, but I do. I have a firm belief that the MLS is here to stay because of the system that we have set up across the country on data exchange and information exchange. So, it'll be interesting to see what happens. But I, for one, as a practitioner, I rely on the multiple listing service on a daily basis. And I sure hope it's going to be around, because that's what I need to do my job.
Well, we may be on it as realtors more than we are on our email. And so, when you look at, the MLS and the free exchange of information, I don't think members and people just know, or consumers and members know, that like the information that's in all these different portals is coming from the MLS.
Yeah.
Like the data is coming from the MLS. It's a great tool, and look forward to seeing the future of the MLS and what it looks like. I want to go ahead and end this podcast on a couple of things. One is, who is your mentor, and maybe a good quote that you have.
All right. So I've got several mentors. My first broker, my first leader in business and life, my father, right? And so he started our company over 50 years ago. He passed away in March, and so it was a sad time for the family, but he built a tremendous legacy that I know he is proud of. But I will tell you, so he did build the company, and before he passed, my brother and I were in negotiations to sell the company. We did talk to him. We got his blessing. We bought the company a few years ago. So it had his name, but he wasn't the broker or owner anymore. But we're very excited about our new opportunity with Lamacchia Realty, and my father knew Anthony for 10 years and liked Anthony as well, just like we did. Yeah. And then in real estate, I've had multiple mentors. At the national level, really the first, or I guess I should start, at the local level. Our association executives are such great people, right? And so one of my first AEs, Ed Moore, he was a great mentor for me in helping me navigate through the local and the state association, taught me a little bit about the national association. Well, my involvement in the national association, in my region in New England, and then the National Association of Realtors, I got to meet Ron Phipps, and Ron Phipps from Rhode Island has been a tremendous mentor for me. And, really he gave me the first opportunity I had to chair a committee at the National Association of Realtors. So, I'm forever indebted for his guidance and wisdom and his willingness to share. And so for me, I've tried to pass that on as much as I can as well, is help others, bring them along on the journey. Quotes, I don't know. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? No. But more is...
I love it a lot.
Yeah. It's more just about, with every challenge, there's opportunity. And sure. That's, my mentality, my thought process is, okay, if there's obstacles, there's got to be a way around. Over, through it, whatever it is. But with every challenge, there's opportunities that are presented, and it's up to us as leaders to find those opportunities.
Kevin, I can't thank you enough. NAR president for the next year and a half. Yeah, we really appreciate the sharing of information, the continued communication with your all the members, and coming here and just being an authentic, genuine, and humanizing what NAR is all about. So we certainly appreciate it. Can't thank you enough, Chris Kresman, for allowing me to be your host. So hopefully I did you right. And RWorldTalk, we'll see you next week.
Take care.